Sonic Generations is my second favorite game in the Sonic series, with much respect to my favorite, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. When Sonic Generations was originally released back in 2011, I thought Sega had finally cracked the modern 3D Sonic formula after years of wild formula alterations from Sonic Unleashed. I recall at the time thinking, wow, if the next game after Sonic Unleashed just kept the daytime levels, this would be fantastic. Then we got Sonic and the Black Knight and Sonic Colors before actually getting a real follow-up to unleash his gameplay style. Unfortunately for me, that continuation wouldn't come back until Sonic Forces 6 years later, and that was one of the worst games for the series. Well, now a full 7 years after that game, we finally got another attempt at the Generations formula, and lo and behold, it's a remaster of Sonic Generations with a whole new Shadow the Hedgehog campaign. Much like Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Sonic X Shadow Generations splits the game into two sections, the original campaign and the new campaign. The old campaign in this case is Sonic Generations. I had barely started making YouTube videos shortly after this game was released, so while I never reviewed it, I would have given it around an 8.5 at the time. It was a solid reinvention of modern Sonic games while also paying respect to the classic 2D games. Both modern and classic Sonic find themselves in a heated battle through time where the two Hedgehogs revisit many of their own respective levels and bosses now under the Hedgehog engine. Classic Sonic levels play out as you'd expect them to. They play completely in 2D despite all the assets now being in 3D. Character models along with level design look charming and cute in this new art style, especially Sonic himself. This iteration of Sonic Generations also added the drop dash to both classic and modern Sonic. While it's generally a cool move for both Sonics, it makes a world of difference for classic Sonic as it helps him keep level momentum going. It's a well-welcome addition as it also helps combat the more floaty nature of classic Sonic. There are also Chow that you can collect, a new form of collectibles with this version of the game, but unfortunately they don't unlock a new Chow Garden feature. Maybe one day. As you play through the main acts, you'll open up challenges that test your skills. These usually revolve around defeating enemies, using certain power-ups, or teaming up with another one of Sonic's friends. All in all, they help pad out the main acts, and some are better than others. Modern Sonic levels, on the other hand, are similar to the daytime levels in Sonic Unleashed. They're all about speed and fast react times, making sure you don't run into an obstacle, perfectly nailing every rail grind, sidestep, and speed boost. I remember playing these back in 2011 and thinking, wow, this is exactly what I expected or imagined modern Sonic games to feel like post Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Unleashed was the closest thing to it with some amazing stages and equally great music. Now having that formula but applied to the best parts of previous 3D Sonic games, man, Sega was just really nailing these stages. On top of the main acts and challenges, you'll fight familiar bosses from previous games, slightly reinvented, and challenge rivals while all collecting the Chaos Emeralds. These are easily some of the best parts of Sonic Generations that unfortunately don't have too many. Overall, Sonic Generations was a fantastic original campaign that left me wanting more. Classic Sonic levels felt modern yet still authentic to the original 2D games, while modern Sonic continued to everything I loved from Sonic Unleashed's daytime levels, only now with stages that brought nostalgia too. I just wanted more of the main acts and the bosses. Luckily for us, that's exactly what we got for Shadow Generations. You can select this game mode from the main menu, and while it may look like Sonic Generations, it's more like a sequel that runs on an updated version of the Hedgehog engine. Shadow stages are wider with various ways to traverse the area. That's in part due to him being able to unlock new Doom abilities over the course of the 5-hour campaign. Doom spheres let you fire projectiles toward enemies without skipping a beat, while something like Doom's wings let you fly a short distance ahead of you. While I won't go over every single power you unlock, they help pace out Shadow's campaign with new features to try out on new bosses, and are also worth revisiting older stages with. Shadow also has his handy Chaos Control ability, which lets him freeze time for a short amount of time. Like Sonic Generations, Shadow Generations revisit Shadow's best levels and bosses from prior Sonic and Shadow games. Among them are the likes of Space Colony Arc and the Royal Canyon, for example. While there isn't a classic Shadow variant, his stages do swap between 3D and 2D, and luckily his powers all continue to work between the two. His challenge stages work a little differently than Sonic's. They're required to earn all the keys that unlock bosses in future stages. These challenges usually consist of beating a certain amount of enemies or having enough rings by the end of a level. Like Sonic's challenges, they pad out the main acts, but unlike Sonic Generations, so does the hub world. You see, Shadow Generations is a really cool subversion of expectations where the hub world has the same 2D look, only to turn around and reveal a whole new perspective. It's such a cool update, and just like Sonic Generations, it's where all the levels and stages are. Not only that, you can find collectible screws and even a few secret chests that contain art pieces and music too. Plenty of incentives to check every nook and cranny while expanding the hub world. Sonic and Shadow Generations was released on Switch 1 last year, running at 1080p 30 frames per second, That luckily gets updated on Nintendo Switch 2 with Sonic Generations running at 1080p 60 in handheld and dock mode. Shadow Generations has the option between a quality 30fps mode and a performance 60fps mode. Performance mode uses a dynamic resolution to maintain that solid performance, and while it does look blurry in dock mode, in handheld mode, things look great. I'm happy to say that this iteration of Sonic X Shadow Generations feels like the true definitive portable way to play. Unfortunately, the way it was released is a bit annoying. There's no upgrade path for Switch 1 to Switch 2, so if you bought that version of the game, you'll need to buy it again just to get the better performance, not even a year later for $50. That's yet to mention that the physical copy of the game is a game key and not a traditional cartridge. I'm not docking the game for that as I'm reviewing the game, not the release method, but I'd be remiss if I didn't call that out. With that said, if you luckily skipped out on the Switch 1 release, or just are a really big fan of Sonic Generations, the Nintendo Switch 2 version is a worthwhile pickup for easily one of the best Sonic games in years.